Beginning descent. Hello. Welcome to another exciting lesson with Mr. Slagle. Today we'll be discussing urban design. I hope everybody got their mind test installed correctly. Please do that if you have not. We're gonna design our own town, the beautiful town of Slagleville. This is actually Shanghai, China. It's not gonna look anything like that, but something to shoot for. A very short lesson. It's not gonna take very long. Most of the time is going to be in probably justifying and working on your solutions to the problems, as well as doing actually some work in the mind test server that we'll have created and up when we meet on Tuesday. All right, so real quick, what you need to know about urban design. So if you're an engineer, there are certain civil engineers that are going to be a great part of like city planning and designing what's going on. Where are the utilities going for a city? We'll go through all this. But there's a whole lot that goes, there's a lot of money that goes into this. There's a lot of politics that goes into where things go, how close certain areas are to other areas, business areas versus the price of housing in certain areas and certain housing developments. And so there's a lot of arguments and a lot of politics associated with urban planning, which is not something you typically think about when you're an engineer. But being an engineer can be a very political career as well. Blue dot. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to plat our land. Platting is the act of subdividing land into legal boundaries. So this is my land right here. This is just made up picture, but that's my neighbors in this instance. This is my neighbors. These are all different size lots that have been platted. You have your street being platted. It turns out the neighborhood in which I actually live, the size of the streets in my neighborhood are so small, they were originally platted for a wagon and coal cart to be pulled by a horse. So it's kind of an interesting vocabulary word you don't hear very often. There's no sidewalks on my street. There were no platting. It's the original Fairbanks platting where I live, which is crazy, right? So if you park in the street, you're parked in the middle of the road, and you take up the whole road because the size of a coal cart. A recorded plat, I found that out after I bought the house, mind you. A recorded plat indicates lots, building lines, easements, right-of-way. So like if there are power lines, Golden Valley or other people should be able to travel along that line so that utilities can be serviced, so on and so forth. Easements, boundary markers, and other permanent attachments to the land. So that's everything that's going to be listed on your drawing. So if you purchase property, which is like, a big deal for some people, you're gonna get one of these, and you're gonna have to look at how it's been platted, how it's been subdivided. If you buy a big plot of land and you want to cut it up, you're gonna have to go through a whole bunch of legal mumbo jumbo to be able to dice it up. It is a legal procedure. What are we going to be doing in Mind Test? We have a section of land, and we are going to be snipping it up into subdivisions. That's what we're going to decide on in class, and then we're going to make it happen, and then we can start building our homes, which I'm really excited about. This is the job of a surveyor, and this was actually Mr. Slagle's original career plan. My career plan out of high school was to go study surveying at UAA and go out and play around in the woods. It still sounds like fun. Why did I become a teacher? I'm kidding. No. There's a lot of computer work. So when you're doing a surveyor, there's a lot of sitting at, a lot of times you're out in the field. You're hiking through the rain, doesn't matter. The equipment is very heavy duty, right? You could be rain or shine, cold. These things are designed to work in all sorts of different conditions. You're hiking around with the equipment, hauling around equipment, and taking measurements. Everybody's homes, everybody's apartment, the land that you are currently on, everywhere is surrounded by. Sorry for the whistling dog over here. Come here, Lewis. Come here. Come over here. Warm up my feet. The floor is cold. Every piece of property has these boundary markers. You may not know where they're at, but they are there, and you should be able to find them Especially if you're on a small lot, go to the corners of the lot of where you think the lot is and kick the dirt around. They might be buried under dirt. You may have to dig them up a little bit, but they are there. They're all over the place. And you have a minimum of probably 4 of them surrounding your property. So maybe more, depending on the shape of, again, depending on the shape of your property, right? So this is 4, there are 4 around this guy's lot, but like this one is 5, right? It just depends on the shape of your lot. This one is wiggity whack. I don't know how that corner would work, but yeah, anyways, you probably have a couple of those going on. Yeah, geomatics is what this is called. And I did post a video on the website of a really awesome engineering YouTube channel, and the guy talks about how you can do surveying projects at home using some pretty simple tools. Really encourage you guys to look at that. Lewis, come here, dude. Come warm up my feet. Come here. Come here. Yeah, good dog. Yeah, you come warm up my toes. Yep, right under the ping pong table. Come on. Yep, okay. Yeah, oh, what a guy. What a guy. Here's Fairbanks. Now I'm going to show you Fairbanks, downtown Fairbanks, and I'm going to show you downtown Boise, Idaho. And I want you to take a look at the difference and how the town was platted. Okay, this surveying stuff and platting land goes back, hundreds of years. People have been doing this and had really accurate methods for doing it, right? So the decisions for the layout of these towns did not happen recently. They happened hundreds of years ago, and some people planned things really well, some people did not. Okay, it just depends. So if you ever thought driving around downtown was confusing and orienting yourself was confusing, take a look. You've got streets. You think you're angled one way, and then later on the same road or later in downtown you think you're going parallel, but everything's angled funny. Take a look at Boise, Idaho. The big difference between Boise and Fairbanks is, look, Boise, you have some weird patches here, but everything has like a predetermined grid. So it's like they took a grid and they superimposed it. There's still a river, right? Here's the river in Boise. The streets here are maybe conforming to the river a little bit, Shoreline Drive, but most of the other roads are kind of not doing that, not conforming to the river for the most part. They follow this superimposed grid. Look at Fairbanks. All of them are somewhat following the angle of the river at a certain spot. So kind of like flat here, angled down, angles up, and this continues. Okay, it's the most bizarre thing. So rather than having a square grid next to the river, we have things waving around. So the way that the place was platted in Fairbanks is pretty bizarre, kind of strange. It makes everything challenging. Running utilities gets kind of harder. Everything gets a little bit harder to do when things aren't on a perfect square grid like this. There's Boise again. So here's some things that we're going to keep in mind when we're deciding, this is the last slide, when we're designing our town, and some things that you're going to have to keep in mind when you're doing your assignment, and why. So we're going to talk about why. Where are people going to live? So how do we determine that? We determine that with our platting, with laying down the boundary markers. What we're also going to do is we are going to randomly shuffle the class, and you guys will get to choose after the land has been platted. You're going to choose which lot that you are interested in, and that's where and we'll do that next week. You're going to get to choose which lot, so whoever gets first pick, whoever is on first on the list will get first pick, and then we'll go down from there. That's me included, and then we'll get to start building after that. How will people navigate the town? So you got to think of a couple things here. Like in Fairbanks, Barnett Street is one way, Cushman is one way, and Fairbanks kind of goes back and forth with one-way streets. But then like Lacey Street, which is, I think this one is two-way. So the way that, where are there going to be one-way streets, where are there going to be two-way streets, those are things that you have to keep in mind. How are people going to navigate town? Are you going to have sidewalks? All these things that you need to think of. navigating the town, or are you going to have public transport? So you can have public transit, you can have, and where does the public transit run? You can have roads, streets, etc. You get the point. Number 3, where will the utilities come from? Where are we going to get our power? Where are we going to get our water? Those kind of things are extremely important. And how will that water and how will that power be distributed? Are you going to have power lines above ground? Or are you going to have power below ground? Because in most big cities, there are no power poles because all the power is run in utilidors or tunnels underground. I don't know if you guys know this, but like Fort Wainwright and Eielson Air Force Base, Eielson just got a brand new utilidor going across the base. It's huge. They can manage a lot of utilities and travel between buildings underground. And I've been in the ones under Fort Wainwright before. I used to go to we were friends with the base commander, and we'd go to his house and we could kind of walk around underground. It was pretty cool. How will utilities be distributed is the other one. There are other utilities you need to think of too. You have water, electricity. We also have sewer. Where is your sewer going to go? What are you going to do with the waste? Okay, how will that waste be handled? These are all things that we can decide later. Right now, you're going to really worry about numbers 1, 2, and a little bit of 3. And lastly, what recreation will be available to the people that live there? So, like, is it just going to be residential, or are you going to include a park? Are you going to have some sort of attraction that is present in the town for people to use? How are you going to keep people entertained? It is fundamental. City planning and urban planning is you have to keep a lot of things in mind, just casual everyday life, as well as kind of going above and beyond just living and making sure people are happy and that they can get the things that they need. Where business is going to be, so on and so forth. And we're not going to worry about that. But it's important to keep in mind, and it's a really cool job. I think it's a fantastic job, and it's a career that doesn't really get talked about in school very often. So urban designing and city planning are technically 2 different careers, but if it's something you're interested in, consider it and do a little research. Okay, we'll see you in class. Thanks for watching, guys. Let me travel back up.